So now that you're familiar with all the components in the game and a little bit about some of the interactions of the components with each other, let's walk through the main game rounds and what they consist of. So there's three main rounds. One is the planning phase, then you've got the execution phase, and the cleanup or regrouping phase. The planning phase consists of each player taking their order tokens and placing four of them, so one at a time, going clockwise, starting with the starting player, placing their order tokens on the order token area or marker on a planet that is a legal place to put them. So legal would be if you have units on it or base, or you are adjacent to a planet where you have units on it or base. So you could place a token here. You'll always play them in secrets so that people can see what your order token is. Or you could also place it here. Now, because of the z-axis connector, right, we could very well be playing it on the place or on the planet that's connected with the 2 as well. We could place it over here. Now, there are three types of orders. There's the build order. There is the movement order, and then there is the research order. The orders will be executed during the execution phase, and we'll go into more detail later. But it's actually quite important to understand how the placement of these order tokens work. Each one of them has a more advanced version of them. The extra abilities are found on the order reference sheet, but you can imagine that the mobilize or movement token allows you to draw extra combat cards and gain 1 attack strength, so it's good for going into battle with. The research one allows you to draw a technology card, and instead of going into your combat deck, it goes directly into your hand. The build extra special one allows you to increase your build limit by 1, and you receive a discount of 1 resource for any one of the bases, units, or buildings that you're building. Oh, pretty cool. Now, they're not available to you though, unless you build one of those modules. They cost 2 minerals each that allow you to use one of those markers. So of course there's 3 of these research and developments that you can place on your player board. But of course if you do 3 of them, then you can only build 2 to the supply depots, and then of course you are a little bit more constrained with the number of units you're allowed to build. So let's ignore these for now and just focus on the regular ones. So each round of the game, players must play 4 of them. That's right, 4 tokens every round, every player. So the first player will place one of their order tokens. So let's imagine that we want to build our units, or let's say we want to build a base. So if you want to build a base, you actually need to have a unit there. If you want to build a unit, you need to have a base there. And again, these conditions are summarized here on the build action. So if you want to build a worker, a transport, or units, it requires a base. So somewhere on the planet, you need to have a base, and then the build action allows you to actually build workers, transports, or units. If you only have a unit, then you might build a base. That's how you can actually build a base, if you have units there. But if you have either a unit or a base, then you're allowed to build a building or a module. And so those are the extensions that I just showed you. Yeah, and these ones you would place on your faction tableau. So let's say that we wanted to expand, okay? And we wanted to set up a forward base on Taurus. So you know now that you need a unit there in order to set up a base, right? So how do we get our units there? Well, we would get our units there by placing the mobilize token here, right? But as you can see, there's actually only 2 or actually 3 planets where we can put our tokens. And that's because you are allowed to stack them, and that's actually a core concept of the game. As we will move around placing our tokens, and of course we place them with the actual order hidden, we will be creating order stacks that will be resolved from top to bottom. So we will be revealing the top one, and that's the one that will be resolved first, but only at the discretion of the player, because they will get to choose in the execution order phase whether they will execute the build order or the mobilization order here. And so if this is stuffed with other players' order tokens, so if there's a fat stack here, they're actually obstructed from doing those moves until this player decides to actually complete this order, execute the order. Now, the order stack is important because, as you can imagine, if the top action goes first, if you wanted to establish a forward base here, instead of playing the movement action first, which might be more straightforward, what you need to do is you want to place the build action first, because that's the step that you will do last. It goes around, you place your movement order token here, and now during the execution phase, let's say that we did research and build here. So, okay, it's execution phase, we flip all of them over, only the top one is revealed, and now during the execution phase, players, again starting with the first player, go around the table in clockwise order, and they get to decide which of their available tokens they're going to execute. Now, of course, I still did them the wrong way around, but let's imagine that we played it this way. Now, I could either build something here or move my troops here. Okay, notice that I placed the movement on the planet where I do not have my units right now, right? Because that's how you actually transport units to another planet. You cannot move your units to this planet with a mobilize order here. It has to be on the target planet. If you were to place it here, of course, you could move your units between the areas, but not move it off-world. So in this case, you need to have a transport ship in place, which we do, and the order token here, and now we can move as many units as we like. And let's land them here, like that. So great, we've landed on a new planet. This order token is removed, and we go around, and the next time we decide to build, and in our build order, because we have a unit here, we then take a base. Of course, we pay for it with our workers, and then we are able to establish it here on the Taurus planet. Okay. Yeah. So that's the kind of the strategic implication of the order stack, that you have to make sure that your orders are in the right order, of course, on stack, but also make sure that you know that it's possible to obstruct your opponents and be aware that maybe your opponent will be obstructing you. So it's very possible that they wait until the very last to actually execute this order. Now, if you don't want to execute the order that's available to you because it's no good, or because, well, whatever reason you might have, instead of executing the order, you can take it away and you can take an event card, right? So from the event deck, you take it, but instead of looking at it, you place it under your tableau, and then during the regrouping phase, you would actually be able to look at it. Okay, so planning phase is all about placing the tokens invisible side up. And let's see. So mobilize on a planet where you have your units, moves the units anywhere within the planet. On another planet allows you to transport them if you have a ship, right? That's the summary here. Of course, if there is an enemy present, this would allow you to move into that area and start a battle. But we'll detail that in the combat video. So building, we discussed here. So building a base, building units. So this is also how you could build another siege tank if you have the technology for it, but also if you can pay for it. And finally, there's the research option. So let's say you also played a research option, which allows you to draw one event card. Again, not looking at it, but placing it face down. And 3 combat cards. So 3 combat cards would be added to your deck. So combat cards are typically on the side of your tableau, and you hold them in your hand. Your hand limit if you're a Terran is 8, and I'm so sorry I said the other races were 5. Actually, it's their hand limit is 6. But you only have to discard down to your hand limit at the end of the round. So if you research, you actually get extra combat cards in your hand, 3 of them to be exact. You may purchase all copies of a single technology. So technology is always available to you here in a technology stack. You can go through it, look at it, find one you like. So these are actually your combat cards. You can go through it. Let's see. Well, let's have a look at these Zerg cards. So as you can see here, there's no tech symbol, so this would be a combat card. And here, this would be an example of a technology card. Technology cards are always available here for you to look through and see which ones would be useful for you to buy. But if you buy them, they go back into your combat deck, right? So you shuffle them, and of course, before you go into battle, you draw some cards, and maybe if you're lucky, they'll be amongst the cards that you've just drawn. Okay, so those are your 3 orders that you can have, and they get resolved during the execution phase. We've basically gone through the execution phase as well, detailing what each of them do. So that leaves us the regrouping phase. So the regrouping phase or cleanup phase is quite a few number of steps, but they're you can go through them relatively quickly. So first you check to see if there's any bases that are destroyed or transports that are destroyed. So bases are destroyed if at the end of the match there is a enemy unit in that area. So the base would be removed if there's any non-faction, non-red unit that's still in that location. Transports are destroyed if on the adjacent planets there is no friendly unit left or base left. You lose the resource cards. Again, you lose a resource card if there's a enemy unit there, or if an enemy unit comes to your planet, then you lose the resource cards for the empty areas. You gain resource cards if you took over a particular area, or if you're the only one on the planet, then you gain all of the empty areas for you to mine. Retrieving workers, so collect all of your workers that you have outstanding and put them back in your worker pool for the next round for you to use. There's gain conquest points, so if you have a base or unit in a particular area, then you can gain conquest points. I'll have to double check on the whether also units will allow you to score points for them. Check for special victory. So at this point, special victory conditions could kick in. Typically, they only kick in during this third stage. So you have to go through all of the stage 1 and stage 2 cards in the event deck. So only once you draw the first stage 3 card are you considered to be in stage 3, and then you should be checking for the special victory conditions here. Now at this point do you actually discard down to your hand limit, right? So you can really rank up a lot of combat cards just before you go into battle. So you have a lot of flexibility for how you deal with your enemy. At this point you check for normal victory, right? So has anyone achieved 15 or 20 if Eldaris is playing conquest points, and if not, then you pass the first player token to the next player on the left, and you move on to the next round. And so essentially, this is the game of StarCraft. The only thing that's left is how combat is resolved.